Sunday to look back over the weekend's Scottish Premiership fixtures, and we'll look ahead to European football as well. Rangers have appointed a new CEO. We'll discuss that with the team. Two managers are hanging on by their fingernails to their jobs. Celtic hit the front as Aberdeen slip up in Paisley. And we're back, of course, to look forward to the Champions League, the Europa League and the Europa Conference League this week. So action-packed all the way through, and there's lots of great content coming up on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you get a chance. And over and above that, if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. So let's first of all look towards a new CEO, Patrick Stewart. I can see the headlines now from every sub in the land to boldly go where no club has gone before. It's definitely coming.
That predictable?
Yes, but he's in, and he'll come in after, I think, Celtic and Tottenham are on the horizon, and then it's a tough job, Ali.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone who would underestimate the magnitude of the job that he's got. I think first and foremost, though, it's been a period of uncertainty within the boardroom. It's been a period of uncertainty on and off the pitch at Rangers. I think it is a welcome move towards one element of stability. I think no one is overly concerned about it, however, until things are really working on the park. I think the prime concern of Rangers supporters won't be so much as who's in the boardroom, but rather who's on the pitch, whether or not they're winning games, what are they doing, and maybe what is he going to do, what's the plan going to be in terms of Philippe Clement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough one because with every game that goes, Ruffy, you've got John Gilligan in there just thinking, can we push back any calamities, any catastrophe, any unrest and anger just till he gets that board in place and a strategy, and the manager's just unable to do that.
Yeah, well, we've been saying it for ages. You're looking at every game one by one, and the weekend there was another one that they should have won. There's no doubt about that in the second half performance. But you're just ticking boxes. But I don't. The reaction of the fans again was there, not good to see. So if that gets worse, it could be bad for them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about obviously the SPFL fixtures. Here's how it all went at the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Rangers 1, Dundee United 1. Ross County defeated Motherwell by 2-1. St Mirren 2, Aberdeen 1. St Johnstone 1-0 win over Kilmarnock. Dundee hammered Hibs 4-1, and it was Hearts 1, Celtic 4 in the end. So with that in mind, Rangers 1, Dundee United 1. A lot of people last night, on the internet, it was just going crazy that he was gone. I think the only thing I would say, and obviously I have mentioned on social media as well as us discussing it ad nauseum, is quite simply he's dead man walking at the moment, because game by game, people are looking and thinking, he can't go on like this. You can't go 11 points behind Celtic. You can't be in third, chasing down Aberdeen as you head into the festive period.
No, and obviously we spoke about it on Friday, and I did say that they wouldn't win every game until the Celtic game, and I didn't think it'd be right straight away. But they dropped 2 points at the weekend. Again, just piles pressure on the manager. I just think it's a matter of time. You see some of the fixtures coming up. You've got no confidence as a Rangers fan that you're going to go and beat Ross County away or Kilmarnock at home, and you've just got no confidence that you're going to win any game at the minute as a Rangers fan. So, yeah, I think it's ironic that Patrick Stewart's coming in and the manager's clinging on to his job.
Yeah, I must apologise to
just go there.
Must apologise to everyone. I knew he was going to try and find a gag out of it, and I was aware of the fact that when we announced the CEO of Rangers was Patrick Stewart, there's 1,001 Star Trek gags to come on this one. But on a serious note, Philippe Clement, game after game, press conference after press conference, is offering his thoughts, and I think now it's wearing thin on a lot of Rangers fans. They're just not having it. This is what he had to say after a draw.
About the result, frustrating. Very frustrating to lose points, and we lost already too many points this season. So we know we don't have credit in the bank. We knew we don't have credit in the bank. In that way, about the performance, the second half, I've seen what I want to see of my team. how I want to see how we play football, how I want to see how we press, how we create chances, how we don't concede chances. So everything was there, only not the second goal to make, and that's the frustrating thing after this evening.
I think if you are a club going to Ibrox and you're thinking to yourself, you know, there's no fear. And I think a lot of clubs are going there with that attitude. And when you score first, you suddenly think, woof, there's a real chance here we can take something. That's certainly what Dundee United thought. And when you have Philippe Clement week after week talking about some positives, but, you know, they're giving up chances, they're conceding goals. For me, as every year, second is nowhere. Third is unacceptable to Rangers fans. And the next couple of weeks, I was looking and I mentioned to a number of people last night, even when you look at the run of the games that Rangers have in the next couple of weeks, you're actually saying to yourself, even before they get to Celtic, Alison, they just can't, as Tam mentioned there, you can't afford any more slip-ups in that run. But when you look at Dundee United, they've dropped points there, and you see St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Ross County, Uppit County as well, Dundee, St Mirren and Motherwell. With a good Rangers team, they're all winnable games, but you can't see...
It's not a good Rangers team.
It's not a good Rangers team. You can't see them win all those games till they get to the Rangers Celtic
Every
match.
game is fraught. No game is a banker at the minute for Rangers, because I think you sense the vulnerability about the team. I think you sense the fragility around the side. I think when Dundee United scored, I think you can hear what the supporters are thinking of it. You can sense the frustration, the acrimony, all of that, all the noise around the players. And I think what you have is some players going into themselves, becoming quite inhibited by the pressure of playing for the club. I think Jack Butland touched on it in his post-match interview. I think it can be a very lonely place and a difficult place to play at either Celtic or Rangers when it's not going well, and it's not been going well for Rangers for the entirety of this season. Towards the end of last season, from around March, April last season, it's been difficult. From when the wheels came off the title challenge towards the last 6 weeks or so of last season, there's been no fluency about Rangers. There's no belief, no conviction about performance, and I think if you're a visiting team just now, you sense and scent blood.
I think what we are witnessing at the moment, Ruffy, as well as a manager clinging on to his job by his fingernails, I think what we're witnessing is a board just trying to work furiously in the background to try and get everything in place. But unfortunately, performances on the park will accelerate the anger of the Rangers fans. There's certainly apathy there, but then it will turn to anger towards the board. Once that happens, that's when the axe falls.
Yeah, but we've said it all along, you know, that if you're doing well on the park and you're winning games, the fans are happy, then the board get it. You know, if you're not playing well on the park, then everybody's going to get it. And that's the way it is at Rangers. I think for me, the crucial point will be when the Rangers supporters stop turning up. And they've done it before, you know, they've not turned up in numbers because they don't like what they're seeing on the park. So, it's as we all say, it's every game by game. It just has to win them.
Any positives in the play? I mean, Cherry scored a nice goal, but I'm clutching at straws here.
Yeah, I think he's only positive at the minute if you're a Rangers supporter. He looks as if he's the only one that can create and score a goal. I think Rangers have scored something like 16, 17 goals in 12 games. That's miles, it's totally unacceptable. I think St Johnstone, Dundee, Aberdeen have all scored more goals than Rangers. So it's the final third, Peter. It's midfield to front. I think they've only conceded 8 in 12 games, which is decent enough. But if you're not scoring goals, you're not creating chances, then you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to win games, and that is the big thing. And Ruffy touched on it about attendance. I feel that when supporters don't start turning up and they start losing money, Rangers, that's when something happens. And I was alarmed to see 56, 60 minutes when Rangers equalised. There was hardly anybody there, Peter. There was just rows of empty seats. So I think that the directors at Rangers at the minute will be looking at that and going, this can't continue.
Yeah, the other problem, and you have to highlight it, Alison, is quite simply, you're looking at the finances. You can only look at what's been said in an AGM. And there's an AGM coming up. Obviously, they've highlighted the fact they've lost over 17 million. and they're looking to try and raise another 8 million. Now, the worst thing about that is quite simply, if you're paying off a manager and his backroom staff, and then you have to recruit somebody, and then you have to tell the new recruit, by the way, January, I know you want this, this and this, but can we give you it?
That's one element. The second element is that you've got a manager who's been very open all season about the fact that he needs to drive the wage level down, that he has to trim and cut cloth really in accordance with the finances that are there, that the budget's been too high. So you have all of that going on. I think it becomes very, very difficult. I think that was a question that was raised back in August on the eve of the season when Philippe Clement signed the new deal. I think there were a few people who had questioned the timing of it and what it might mean. Now, we should caveat that by saying there may well be a clause within that deal that you and I are not privy to. It might be that, you know, it's not a deal that's paid in full across the entirety of the contract. It may be a 6 months or whatever it is. However, what is certain is that it requires money. To change a manager requires money. To then go out and recruit a new manager and come in and say, here's a team that are currently 11 points off the pace of Celtic, way off the pace of Aberdeen. We're trying to trim the budget. We've got a fairly bloated squad. You would still say that there's a lot of players there that you would need to really be getting off the books before you can bring more in. I think it becomes an absolute headache.
Yeah, and lots of people, I mean, Don Clark on our feed says, let's get real, guys. If Clement goes, who would want the job? Lots of people would want the job. It's still a big job. The biggest problem any manager has is quite simply, what have I got to play with? How can I turn it around? Am I going to be backed?
Yeah, it's a massive job, Peter. It really is, especially when you look at where Celtic are at the minute. You know, Rangers are, no matter what you say, I know a lot of Rangers supporters have kind of written the season off and think we're miles behind Celtic, we're not going to catch them anyway. But Celtic and Rangers are always going to compare each other to the other team. And, you know, if a Rangers manager comes in and he looks at how far Celtic are ahead in terms of finances, budget, strength of squad, depth, everything, recruitment, you know, it's a real big job for a Rangers manager. But, you know, I think they need to get somebody in who knows Scottish football. And I've said it, Derek McInnes is the obvious one for me. I know he's knocked it back before. I don't think he would knock it back again if they come back in for him. But I think somebody of that ilk is what Rangers are needing. They need to start being best of the rest again, you know, and then take it from there, because, you know, they're not going to get near Celtic any time soon, to be honest.
The other aspect of this, before we obviously compliment Dundee United and their goal and getting a point at Ibrox in the season that they're having, is quite simply, when you try and defend a manager for any kind of mitigating circumstances here, you look at, well, there could be injuries. Well, you know, maybe he hasn't got what he wanted or he asked for. And then you look and you say to yourself, well, are there signs on the park that you see a style, you see something positive? The amount of Rangers fans I speak to, Ruffy, who just watch the game and think, you know, there is nothing to get them excited. There is nothing that is saying to any of the Rangers fans that I speak to, it's a cold winter's day, I'm going to go out to Ibrox and watch a team that doesn't have that style. I think the manager is now just, at this moment, just, for me, winding down the clock till somebody eventually says, okay, enough is enough.
I think he's used all his joker cards. You know, I think 2 or 3 months ago he said, look, hang on in there. We've got 6 or 7 out injured. They're all fit now. He's going, hang on, we've got a style of play we're trying to get to. That's went out the window now. Everything he's promised the Rangers supporters hasn't really came through. You know, and I listen to his interviews now. He's sort of shoving it onto the players now. He's shoving it onto them, saying, look, I've done my bit, now it's up to you, and taking the sort of a pressure off of him a wee bit.
Yeah, let's not kid ourselves here, Ali. You know, people are turning around, there's a real fixation with Steven Gerrard, that's one. There may well be a fixation with Derek McInnes as well, but a lot of people are highlighting Kilmarnock are not in the top 6. Kilmarnock are battling away at the bottom end, trying to get themselves into the top 6. Can Rangers even look at a calibre of manager that maybe is above Steven Gerrard, who is not setting the head on fire over in Saudi Arabia, and over and above that failed at Aston Villa?
Yeah, there's 2 elements to that. One is you could look at Aberdeen's recruitment, you could look at Jimmy Talleen and say, well, there's someone coming in like they didn't just stick to the usual sort of Scottish merry-go-round of managers. They went out, brought in someone new, and so far you would have to say it's been very successful. However, what I think the issue with Rangers just now is when you see names like that linked with the post is a familiarity to go with what you know, to go with what you think you're going to be getting with managers of that ilk, like Steven Gerrard, like Derek McInnes, where you think, could that be a safe pair of hands? Are these the guys that could restore fundamentals and have them challenging again? And Steven Gerrard is an obvious one because he won the title at Rangers and won it in a very convincing fashion that season. So I think he has a very particular place in the minds of Rangers supporters. I do wonder if maybe there's an element of romanticising that campaign with everything that went on round about it. But I think what will be bubbling in the background in the minds of Rangers supporters too is the fact that you look at maybe Liverpool and Everton down in Merseyside and you think it's almost becoming an aberration for a Rangers team to go and win the league. If you look at it from, say, across the last 20 years or so, Celtic have been the dominant team, and 9 times out of 10 it has been a fairly comfortable procession towards the title. I think the fear will be you cannot afford to always be second. You cannot afford to always be the bridesmaid to Celtic enjoying. I want to see a manager come in who can properly compete.
Yeah, I think the only delay at the moment, I mean, they've got Nice coming up, which again they need like a hole in the head. But I think the only delay at the moment is quite simply John Gilligan having discussions with Patrick Stewart and then looking at other appointments and saying, right, where do we go from here? Because this manager is not producing the goods. This manager is not long term what we're looking for. And the reason I say that is you have to deal with the facts here. This is a manager who had it within his grasp to win the league last season, failed. This season they're 11 points behind Celtic and 8 behind Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think it's set up for Patrick Stewart and the new chairman who's coming in as well, who I think both start on the day or two after the cup final. I think for me, just looking at it now, it's set up for them to come in and they mean business and they get rid of the manager straight away, and straight away they get brownie points with the supporters, who I don't think Rangers will beat Tottenham or Celtic, and I think the clamour will be even bigger than it is now if he gets to that stage. And I think they come in and go, clean start, clean slate, endear themselves with the Rangers fans right away, and they get a new manager in. So that's what I'm predicting, Peter. I think if he gets to Tottenham and Celtic, I think after that cup final, I think it'll be thanks and we're looking for somebody else. But he might not get there, Peter. He might not get to that stage because, as I said to you, I've got no confidence that the Rangers will beat St Johnstone away or Kilmarnock at home. Just the way they're playing at the minute, they're just so poor.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that. There's lots of people offering their tuppence worth. Of course, there are some who like to jump up and down because they're fans of other clubs and have a joke about it. But Rangers fans out there, obviously, who would you like to see in the job? Should the axe fall now? Would it have fallen quicker if Rangers were in a better financial position? Because I did suggest on this programme that they can't afford to sack him right away, and got battered for it. Quite simply, in the background, the biggest job is the boardroom for me, and then once they get them in place, I think it's just a case of the axe will fall. What do you think about that? Give us your point of view on it. Great for Dundee United, scored a good goal, and Jim Goodwin, the United manager, just not happy that they gave up a goal for the equaliser.
Showed good courage to try and play. I think the goal that we scored is, up there as one of the best that we've scored this season, given the switch of play from Gallagher out to Middleton on the left hand side, ball back into the midfield, and then a terrific delivery from Savage to find Dalby in acres of space in the Rangers penalty area. So it was a really well worked goal. As I said, we're pleased with the point. If you'd have offered me that before the game, given the circumstances, I think we'd have all taken that. But obviously, to lose that equaliser the way that we did, dropping runners, that's disappointing.
Great credit to Jim Goodwin. I mean, he's had a great, first part of the season. He's got to look at where they are and think, well pleased.
Yeah, and I listened to him discussing how they got there and the delay they had at leaving Dundee and the time they got there. No pre-match meal, no preparation. So From that aspect, you've got to give them a lot of credit as well. But I think defensively, they defended well for the last 15 minutes. They just threw their bodies in a line for everybody, and they got the just results at the end.
Yeah, just a point that Thomas has made, and a few others as well. That there's no humour allowed. There is humour, and it's all over every bit of social media that you can sense, Tam. But unfortunately for me, this is only an hour show, and I don't have a chance to read out all the people who are absolutely caning Rangers, caning Patrick Stewart, Star Trek jokes, you name it. That's really for the social media element of it. We've got to look and say to ourselves, here's the teams, here's how they've played, here's what the implications are. And the implications are right now that Rangers fans have a lot of them have had enough of Philippe Clement, and they're certainly not going to listen to what he has to say in a post-match press conference. I don't think there's a Rangers fan who will basically back him at the moment from what they witnessed. I might be wrong. There might be one or two out there that still thinks he can turn it around. But 11 points behind Celtic right now for me is a situation where, you know, another board that was more settled would have sacked the manager by now at Rangers. Hearts 1, Celtic 4. You're on board with me now when I suggested last week they're not going to lose domestically.
No, I've thought that as well, Peter. I just don't see it. I just think that, you know, they see the strength and depth. You know, the substitutes are bringing on. They're bringing a £9 million striker on. You know, there's nobody in Scotland anywhere near that kind of strength. He comes on and scores 2 goals. I thought first half Hearts were the better team. I thought Celtic started poorly. If Hearts score first, maybe it's a different game. You know, a couple of chances. Shankland had a chance. Blair Spittle had a great chance. Second half, it was like within 10 minutes the game was done. You know, bang bang, 2-0, game's over. And then Celtic could have ran out 5 or 6. You know, towards the end, you know, you just see the fitness and the guys coming on, and the strength they've got. They were disappointed to lose the goal. Great finish from Drameh for Hearts. So, listen, all in all, I think Hearts will be pretty pleased with the performance for the first 55, 60 minutes. But Celtic are just a juggernaut. They just run over the top of teams. You need to play out your skin for 95, 96 minutes, and there's nobody really capable of doing that at the minute in Scotland.
Thank you very much to so many of you offering your opinion on it. This is what Brendan Rodgers had to say after the game with that 4-1 win. To come to Tynecastle and win 4-1 with only 500 supporters, it was a great victory for us. If your nearest rivals drop points, then of course you would want to take advantage, but it's still very early in the season. Brendan, ever the diplomat. Couple of wee noise uplines there as well. I love that from managers. 500 supporters. Listen, we could say it non-stop. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Scottish football must be the only country, Ruffy, that just keeps on giving on what I call one stupid decision after another. I mean, Hearts, there were empty seats in that end. Just give Celtic that end. Mm-hmm. The Tottenham fans, there was thousands of them in at Man City watching them dismantle Man City 4-0. The atmosphere's great when you see the opposition fans, the noise that's created, the banter. That's what football's about. It's a sport for 2 sets of supporters, and half decent at that. I mean, 500 fans is just a joke.
No, and unfortunately they're all jumping onto the bandwagon. They're all throwing it out there like we're looking after our own fans. And that's okay when you're playing well and your stadium's full. But see if they go down that road when their team's not playing well and the stadium isn't full, they're going to start losing money, and somebody's going to step up and say, hey, wait a wee minute, all these empty seats are costing us money.
I give you St Johnstone, Alison. They've already done a U-turn.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought on Saturday at Tynecastle that it was very muted. I thought the whole evening felt quite flat, and I even thought that when Hearts were in top. In the first half, I thought Hearts were the better team, and I felt as though there wasn't a huge deal of energy coming from the crowd. Normally at Tynecastle, particularly when it's a visit of Celtic, you have everyone on top of it. There's a real noise, a real energy. It was bitterly cold too, obviously, but I just felt like the pockets of empty seats. It felt muted. It didn't feel like a game that you've come to expect between the two teams, and I actually thought it worked against Hearts at a point in the game when they were probably on top. I think had they had, even if you sell out to Celtic fans and you keep them quiet for there's an energy that even comes from that too. But I find it baffling. I think when you have empty seats, you would be far better banking the money and for the benefit of everyone and for the benefit of the game as a spectacle.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a little bit of a kick, Neil Critchley, as far as the team and the way they're playing. Not maybe as big a kick as some Hearts fans were looking for in the spark from the team, but this is a Hearts side at Tynecastle who've beaten Celtic before this back in March, so they've got a track record where they can do it. But I think the most telling factor for me was when I was watching Martin O'Neill and John Robertson and James McFadden are sitting there, and I'm thinking, John Roberts was looking and thinking to himself, I'm trying to put a brave face on this because, quite simply, if you can't take your chances, Spittle should have burst the net.
Yeah, I mean, Hearts played well in the first half, Peter, but unfortunately they've got a striker that's just out of form at the minute. And I'm not putting all the blame on Lawrence Shankland, but you've seen from last season, Peter, he scored 30-odd goals. He was the main reason they finished in third place. So, listen, they're really lacking a goal scorer at the minute. Obviously, the sub came on and scored, but they've not got a lot of goals in them at the minute, Hearts. They've not got a confidence in front of goal. Spittle's a lovely wee knockdown for Shankland, and you're right, he's got to score, he snatches at it. Shankland had a half chance that he put wide, but I just think watching Hearts at the minute, they're just missing that final piece in the final third. They're missing a striker in confident form that can get his chances. And unfortunately, Shankland, I think it's 1 in 23 or 1 in 24 now. No one would have seen that coming after the 3 seasons he's had at Hearts. He scored nearly 60 goals at Hearts, so he's miles off it at the minute. He needs a goal badly. The manager seems to be sticking with him to try and get him through this sticky patch, but it's went from a barren patch to, I mean, it's just miles off it. He looks as if he can never score another goal again. So that's what Hearts are missing. They're missing a goal scorer in the final third to put teams away.
I think a lot of teams now, when they know they play Celtic, if they're not in the game with 20 minutes to go, they know what's going to happen. They know what's coming on the park. They know the quality that's coming on the park. So they really need to be in the game, And I just thought with Hearts at the weekend, they lost all confidence than what they had in the first half.
The other thing which I think is only right and proper to do and to highlight here is when you have a situation where Hearts have had the better opportunities in the first half, Celtic yet again, and this is where I see them as a side that are just not looking as if they're going to lose a game, is because in the second half they just go through the motions, they go through the gears. Kuhn scores an absolutely fantastic goal, and you just think to yourself, goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, how many is it going to be here at Tynecastle?
Yeah, I think that comes from winning games. You have that belief even after a fairly awkward first half. I think you always expect Celtic 1 to change it, as he did a wee bit. He tweaked it a bit in terms of the shape of the team at the break, and then of course by the time the substitutes are introduced and you're thinking, Ida's coming on, £9 million striker that's sitting on the bench coming on. By the time they're introduced, the game was already won. The game had got away from Hearts with the 2 goals in 5 minutes. But I thought Kyogo's movement was very good in the second period, but Kuhn is unplayable at the minute. You've just got no one that can match him just now.
Yeah, he must just be going out thinking, I'm going to score in every match. I mean, he's coming in off the right-hand side, or he's driving forward to the penalty spot. I mean, when he was driving into that box, I'm thinking, he's not going to hit it, is he? And he just absolutely lashed it past goal.
Yeah, I've never seen a bigger transformation in a player. I seen him last season, Peter, and I thought, Celtic have paid too much for him. I mean, I think a lot of Celtic fans, a lot of people just watching him would have thought, looks lightweight, couldn't go by anybody, didn't look fit. And then pre-season, he's obviously had a good pre-season over in America, and then he's come back flying, and by far the best player in Scotland in a minute, Peter. I think he's got 11 goals and 11 assists in the first 12 or 13 games. It's phenomenal numbers. And if he keeps that up for now at the end of the season, not only is he going to be player of the year, but Celtic will struggle to hold on to him in the summer, because there must be some big clubs looking at him in the form he's in.
And that's the biggest problem that Rangers have, is when you have a Celtic firing on all cylinders, even when they're winning games. There's no slip-ups, so it increases the pressure.
Yeah, as in, I don't think Celtic played particularly well down at Kilmarnock either, and they won 2-0. I think first half the other night they were poor against Hearts. They win 4-1. When Celtic click and they play well, there's nobody going to live with them in Scottish football, but they can win ugly, and they've done that maybe the last couple of games. They've not been quite at their best, but they still win those games, and that's the difference between them and Rangers, and it has been for a couple of seasons. Rangers need to play well to win games at the minute, and Celtic don't.
Yeah,
If you look at every other team and you look at who's going to score the goals, if you went through all the teams, you could maybe pick 1 or 2 players. if you look at the Celtic team, you're talking about six possible goal scorers.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing about it as well, as I was speaking to a Rangers fan this morning, he said absolutely dreading, the League Cup final as well. Whether he gets to the League Cup final, the manager, is another matter, but it's a big problem. Celtic just absolutely rolled over the top of Hearts in the second half. 4-1 winners. Of course, there was a wee bit of consternation over Kenneth Vargas and what he had said. We all were waiting for the... I said it was coming, Ali. Well, we're all waiting for I was misquoted. And even Cammy Devlin is shouting the defence of Vargas.
Do you boys talk to him? How do you put your arm around him, or can he win them back over again, or how do you see it?
Yeah, definitely. I think to be fair, I didn't see anything while he was away. I was in Scotland, and he texted me, and I hadn't seen anything yet, saying, "Kemi, please help me. I've been misinterpreted, obviously, the language thing. I haven't actually seen what was like the interview or whatever, but Kemi, please help. I'm misinterpreted." So I was texting him back and forth, and then obviously saw the article. I didn't watch the video or whatever, but I saw the article, and I just told him the only way you can win him back is by working your socks off and scoring a few goals and repaying it by doing that. But yeah, listen, Kenny's he's a young kid, and he's a maybe whatever he said he shouldn't have said, but he's a lovely guy, and I can say hand on my heart that he absolutely loves being here. He loves coming out, and we've got a really good rapport with him, and I don't think he would have signed his 5-year deal if he didn't love being here. So I know he loves being here. He maybe said a few things that, a bit naive, and he probably regrets saying, but yeah, he's just a kid, and I know that he'll keep working hard. Hopefully the goals start falling for him, and hopefully he can win him back over. But I can completely understand the misunderstanding kind of thing there.
Yeah, okay.
It's not the first time it's happened, Peter. I think when you look at it, foreign players coming over here and they go back to the home country, and they're misinterpreted. I think it was the same with Morelos at times. I remember about Hibs. Ulysses de la Cruz went back to Ecuador, and there was a big article saying he wanted to leave Hibs and go to the Premier League, and they ended up going to the Aston Villa. But the supporters don't like that, Peter. But it's, I mean, if you've not got any ambition, I'm not saying he should be saying that, but if Kenneth Vargas wants to stay at Hearts all his career, then it's no use. You want players that are ambitious, and if he said he wants to go to a bigger level, then fine. But he's got to do it on the park, and that's probably why the Hearts fans are not happy, because he's maybe not been playing well and the team's not doing well. I think it would be a different story if he was sitting with 10 goals in and Hearts were sitting in second or third. I think they would accept it, but because the team's struggling, he's getting slaughtered.
Yeah, absolutely, and doesn't look like scoring either, if that's the way he's going to try and win them back. Although somebody said, can't blame Vargas, I'd want out of the 11th best club in the league as well. Harsh. Harsh, but
Can't even laugh at it.
no, of course, because the 12th best club is about to be talked about. And of course, we'd like to read out a few observations, because everybody likes to have a wee look and see what's happening. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Ruffy's just ruining the show at the moment. He's just spluttering and sneezing and everything.
It's a downward spiral for him.
Absolutely, because this is a downward spiral health-wise. Yeah, because Alison is quieter than usual. She looks freaked out with Ruffy's constant spluttering all over the shop. Which again, Ali, from your own point of view, last week you weren't too well. But not as bad as Ruffy. Just every time you make a half-decent point, he coughs over you.
He's freaking me out.
Ruffy would be in for a fee, honestly. He's minted. He's got money in the king, and he's in here for
absolutely
a fee.
Yeah.
No, well.
I've seen him at after dinner as well. Yeah, absolutely. He's
take your fee.
He's I know you take everybody's fee. poor Ruffy. He's having to rely on his football, obviously his football pension, and his after dinner speaking, and so many other forms of income that are coming his way. It's just an absolute blow. Let's see if we can get an opinion out of him before the end of the show. St Mirren against Aberdeen. Ruffy, the Dons. Go on, say it, so Kenny from
bubble burst.
Battery.
I think I said on Friday, I think this could be the one for them to get tested coming down here, and I don't think Aberdeen thought they were going to beat a big punt up the park. I can't believe they two centre halves. I mean, I know the wee guy's quite a stocky wee guy, but I thought he'd done particularly well. But
he was quick, wasn't he?
Lasagna, he's doing well with it.
But by the way, Ruffy,
building up for the back. It spoils the game, that big punt up the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say, Alison, as you well know, there are many ways to win a game, and it wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
Especially on a night like Saturday, like the conditions and the pitch and people out cleaning the snow off the pitch and stuff. No, I don't think Stephen Robinson will be given two hoots at how that goal comes about. I think he'll just be delighted with 3 pretty big points for St Mirren too.
Yeah. Listen, by the way, as a manager, Stephen Robinson, always good in the after-match press conference. He paid tribute to the man who was behind those goals, and that was, of course, the goalkeeping coach, Jamie Langfield.
I think Jamie Langfield deserves a special mention as well. He does all the corners, and we worked the corner brilliantly well. Nearly scored one in the first couple of minutes as well. So all the staff deserve the praise for this, and the volunteers that helped get the game on. Well, that's what Jamie told me. He said, so I've really won the game. He said the goalkeeper's assisted the goal, and I've done the set play. So he's having a week off, he said. So hope he enjoys his weekend.
Yeah, Jamie does all set pieces as well. Listen, you've got to give him credit.
Yeah, as I said, it was. I don't think it was a lump. I think it was a kind of controlled pass up the pitch. It wasn't just a shell. I thought he kind of.
What?
I don't think it was just a shell. I think it was a wee bit better than that. I'm going to give the goalkeeper a wee bit more credit.
What the goalkeeper actually looked up and thought, I'm going to play a 50-yard and just let it curl round for the guy to run onto.
Well, the goalkeeper will tell you they meant it. But
how many people think it was a lump?
Me.
I don't think you try to find the boy at all.
No, but I think it was a control. You've obviously seen the St Mirren play in the vicinity and played it over the top. Listen, I think that the two Aberdeen defenders are caught square.
Yeah,
and it's a world-class
Ruffy,
pass.
Cough over him, will you?
And Olasanya, the pace and to go and finish it. And I thought St Mirren deserved it. I thought I looked at the highlights. Aberdeen obviously hit the post late on, but St Mirren are difficult to beat. They're difficult to play against at St Mirren Park. They're physical. They put balls in the box. They make you defend. And if you don't defend properly, you'll get done. And that's what happened with the second goal. No, I don't think so. I still think they've got 3 hard games. Obviously, they've lost that one. They've got Hibs away tomorrow, and they've got Hearts away on Saturday. So they've got 3 tough away games. Not a good start for them. They'll be delighted that Rangers drop points as well, because I think they'll be targeting second place. But yeah, I think they'll be disappointed. But I thought Jimmy Talene was excellent after the game. He gave St Mirren credit. I don't think he gets too high with the wins and doesn't get too low. I think he's pretty level. And he'll just be concentrating on going and getting 3 points at Easter Road tomorrow.
Well, they're in the capital for the next 2 games before they face Celtic. It's just a massive period for the Dons. And Jimmy Talene was speaking today, and our man Kobe Henderson was there.
Just on Saturday, Aberdeen suffered their first league defeat of the season to the hands of St Mirren, and only tomorrow Aberdeen have to travel to Edinburgh to face Hibs. Well, Jimmy Talene, he spoke on that defeat, not happy with the way his side started at the Smythe. However, he believes that will have no impact in tomorrow's game.
So we have to keep moving and think about the next game, and then we leave that behind. But we have to just talk about the first 20 minutes, because that was not the way we want to act as a team. And you're going to win some games, and sometimes you're going to lose and a draw. We are not alone in the league. It's a lot of good teams, so I don't think it's going to be any impact at all.
Hibs, of course, well, they sit bottom of the league, and pressure on David Gray continues to mount. However, Jimmy Talene also believes that looking into the league position of Hibs would be unwise going into tomorrow's game.
Hibernian is I think sometimes you can get in this moment in the season and you do things. The performance has been well. They have created some really good opportunities inside the game, and then some goals against them. So I still think it's a good team. You see the quality of the individual players, how they can 1 against 1, some tactical minds of some of the players is really high level. So I think it's difficult to, if you watch a table, you can think one thing, but I think that's a big mistake, because they are a good team and they have strong individual players. So we have to be really sharp tomorrow.
Aberdeen take on Hibs at Easter Road. Kick-off is at 7:45.
Yeah.
Kobe.
Want a gale up there?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. But of course, I'm going to head through to Edinburgh, Ruffy. When was the last time you were in Edinburgh?
I think the last time I was invited through for one of the Hall of Fame days.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it a starter, a main course,
a lot.
and a suite?
A lot. I think I was on the park and did the half-time draw as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you stay after you did the half-time draw?
Yeah, there was hospitality after.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward
Milked
to
it for all it was worth.
Yeah, you better believe he did. It's Aberdeen. Listen, I think a lot of Aberdeen fans realistically would have been looking and thinking, okay, there's going to be those slip-ups we talked about, Alison, but I still think they have a massive chance in that boardroom to sit down with Jimmy Tillene and say, any advantage you've got by the time you hit January, and Rangers will be hoping that Celtic can, do them a favour up at Pittodrie in a couple of weeks.
I think it'll be really interesting to see how Aberdeen react to the first real setback. You obviously saw the cup defeat at Hampden to Celtic when they lost so heavily. To not let it derail them, I think it'll be interesting just to see now how they cope with their first league defeat against St Mirren on Saturday, just to see now how they go. And again, they're facing a Hibs team that are limping. I think a lot of us maybe expected over the weekend, over Sunday and today, that maybe David Gray's position would have been gone ahead of that one. So I think loads of uncertainty, but sometimes that can be awkward too, to play against a team in that position where Hibs should be fighting for their lives. But in terms of Aberdeen, I think it'd just be interesting to see how they get back on track after this one and respond to it. But certainly I think if there's any advantage, I suspect that what Jimmy Tillene has is the full support and trust of the board because of the way he started the campaign, that they would trust him to spend money wisely. Yeah,
let's be brutal about it. At the weekend, Tam, I actually thought two managers were going to lose their job. I thought that Philippe Clement would be sacked, and I certainly thought that David Gray would not be in the job, although Obita certainly didn't help him with a really stupid tackle. When you're a manager and you're under pressure, the last thing you want is to lose a guy getting sent off.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous tackle. I know David's trying to say that he went for the ball. I don't think there was any malice in it, but it's a straight red card, and it's particularly after Hibs started really, really well. I thought first 10-15 minutes, Hibs started really well, got the goal, and you're thinking, right, go and get the next goal and go and win the game, and then that kills them. I think Hibs have been in the lead 4 times this season and got players sent off. They've gave away 14 points from winning positions. Actually, maybe 17 now, obviously for the weekend. So, the players they're doing the manager in. I don't know what David Gray, he's coming out, he's saying the same things every game. Individual mistakes are killing us, red cards. And a lot of fans will point to it and say, well, you're picking the team, you're picking the players, your head's on the block. I get that. But the players have got to give them a performance, Peter. And I think, I'm like Alison, I thought after the game on Saturday night, I thought he'd have been gone. It's excruciating to watch David Gray now because he's trying his best. You can see he's trying everything. And I'm sure behind the scenes they're working hard and trying everything to turn it round. But it just looks as if it's a matter of time, and it might be tomorrow night. I hope it isn't. But again, I feel as if I'm saying it every week, they can't afford to get beat again. But they can't. They're bottom of the league. We're coming up into December, and he needs to get a result, Peter.
Well, here's the big dilemma on this. First of all, this is David Gray is at the end of each game sounding like a broken record, but he has to put a brave face on it. He reckons he's still got the players backing him, and so does Joe Newell.
100% want to be here. That's a decision for the powers that be at the football club, and I think until someone tells me otherwise, I'll do everything I possibly can to turn this around. I think, as I said, the way we started the game, the response I got from the players at the start of the game, and then the effort to go right to the very end, I know the players are still with me, 100%. I know they're still got that desire to try and turn this around.
When the chips are down, you just have to find something and dig deep. You have to. You play for a club of this size. I've been here a number of years now. You've had a few bad times, good times. You have to have that strength and you have to have that shoulders back mentality. It's not a time for waving your arms in the air. It's time to roll your sleeves up and think, come on, let's go, because you've got no other choice.
I think Hibs, Ruffy, have set themselves right behind the 8 ball here as a board, because they've come out and said we can't keep going through this sack a manager, and they're almost digging their heels into the detriment of the club because they're in danger of being relegated. And I think also the financial implications of sitting at the bottom of the table are huge for them. I feel sorry for David Gray, but the facts don't lie.
No, they don't, and it's okay, the player saying, oh, we're right behind the manager. I think the people they've got to convince is the fans. They've got to convince the fans that they're right behind the manager. And as Tom said, they're not doing that. I don't see any fight. I don't see anybody going, oh, I'm going to do this for the manager. I think they're all going through their own wee bit, trying to save face. But for me, again, like most teams are struggling, fans are the big dictating what's going to happen there.
Yeah, Alison, Simo Valakari and St Johnstone winning doesn't help matters.
Doesn't at all. It really doesn't. And I think every week, we spoke about it on Friday, you think, oh, Hibs and Hearts are far too good to be down at the bottom end of that table, given the resources they have, the quality they have. But you can't keep saying it. At some point, you have to see that they are capable of getting out of it. And I think the longer it goes, the tougher that looks and the more in danger they are of being cut adrift at the bottom.
Yeah, it's hard to believe both Edinburgh sides are down there. Sooner or later, something's got to happen. There's more time going to be given to Neil Critchley because he's just in the door and has the chance to implement the changes, certainly the January transfer window. And of course, there's still that ability to catch what's above you. But this game for Aberdeen at Hibs at Easter Road is absolutely massive for David Gray. I'm not sure he survives tomorrow if he loses.
No, I think I was surprised, as I said at the weekend. I think he'll get tomorrow night. And Hibs are in real danger of getting relegated. They are. I mean, you look at the form, Peter's 13 games, and it's nearly a third into the season. They're bottom of the league. They've shown no signs of improvement. And he needs to win the game tomorrow night for me, plain and simple. He needs to beat Aberdeen. I don't even think a draw would be enough for him.
Yeah. Okay. Other ones, I mentioned St Johnstone getting a good win, Alison. Ross County, we did mention to you at the weekend at home. Ross County just seemed to be a really good outfit at home.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone particularly enjoys the road up to Dingwall and how difficult they can make it.
Still, that's journalists.
How difficult they can make it for teams again on a night or an afternoon like Saturday when the conditions were so poor. But when I saw Motherwell had got a goal back, and I thought, I wondered if they just might sneak a point, come back into it, but no, Ross County obviously they held out. I think Ross County and St Johnstone were my tips to go down, and I might be reassessing that in the next couple of weeks.
Are you going to change?
I may, yes.
There is indeed a January rule, Ruffy, that we have allowed from time to time, which is basically if you made a pig's ear of it, then you just backtrack and then pick another two.
I would like to hear what Alison's saying if they're going to dig themselves out of it, and we are on the assumption that Hibs and Hearts will possibly dig themselves out of it. So who's the two that's...
I think Hibs are the one for me. I think you expect it. You look at them and you think at some point they'll get their act together and they'll piece it. It's the same performances every week. I think the goalkeeper is a headache. I think that position is a real problem.
I don't think he cannot play that goalkeeper tomorrow night. He can't.
Who's the alien?
I think it's English lad Smith. He can't play him. He can't play him, Peter. The fans. He
also looks broken.
Yeah, his confidence is gone.
He's blaming everybody else.
His confidence is gone. He can't play him, Peter.
Goalkeepers do.
No, if you're a good goalkeeper.
He's not inspiring any confidence within the. I think at home, I think he's got to change the goalkeeper tomorrow, David Gray. I think he will. I don't think he'll play tomorrow, Burstick. I'll be astonished if he plays.
Yeah, well,
MacArthur.
Yeah. I have to be honest
with
you, it's desperate. I have to tell you, we might all get that ability to change our minds on it, but right now Hibs and Hearts have to produce the goods, and Hibs certainly don't seem to be in as good a place as Hearts on this, although they're only 1 point behind them. Hibs tomorrow, is it make or break for you Hibs fans there? Give us your thoughts on that as well. So that's the Scottish Premiership. Here's the table. Here's how it looks. At the bottom, it's hard to believe it, but Killie, St Johnstone, Ross County, Dundee, all there. Who tipped Dundee? It was you, Tom. You tipped Dundee to get down.
Yeah, I tipped them to be in the bottom too, but I mean, that might still happen. But you'd expect Hibs and Hearts to get out of there, but as I said, we have no confidence. I mean, Hibs win tomorrow night, Hearts go bottom, and all of a sudden, Hibs get themselves kind of back into the pack above them. So it's an enormous game for Hibs tomorrow night. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just a couple of things.
Vultures that would go to that game to see what happens.
Well, a few managers in the stand.
No, usually. Ruffy, I go where the story is. That's it, Ali. You know exactly what's happening. I certainly don't wish any pain on David Gray. I just think it's a really inexperienced situation here. It needs experience. It also needs, by the way, and let's not beat about the bush, it needs a board that knows what it's doing. And I think they're open to criticism. They've made a number of big mistakes. And I think they have to hold their hands up. And there are a lot of Hibs fans I see, and I go through to Easter Road and Tynecastle regularly. And at Easter Road, there's a lot of Hibs fans not in any way enamoured by the actions of the board. And they'll let them know at the end of the games. So, massive game. I'll be there. And of course, we'll keep you right up to date with what's happening right across all our social media channels. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you to so many of you for your support right across the whole entire year. We've got lots of people hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, and lots of people enjoying watching the programme at their leisure. I noticed somebody there who was watching it in Texas, Ruffy. That's the great thing about it as well. The amount of people over the 12 years that we've been together that watch it near and far. It's incredible, isn't it?
I think we all notice it when we go out for abroad or even at home. It is, an avenue for a lot of people who can't catch up in Scottish football.
Yeah, absolutely. Why are you laughing, McConnell?
I'm laughing at you for people to come and give you some abuse.
Yes, absolutely. Says Ali, who was doing a piece to camera outside Celtic Park at the AGM, Ruffy, and on about 31 occasions she had to stop doing her piece to camera because...
You didn't have the blue PLZ track at the top them, did you?
No, she was wearing a cashmere and one of her favourite scarves. She likes to look glamorous until everybody recognises her rolls down the window.
You white one.
And then bang, everybody gave her absolute pelters. They were shouting all sorts of abuse. But I just said to her, look, you've got to get your husband just to drive and go back to work. He can't just be keeping going past you and shouting abuse. Listen, just a couple of wee quickies before we get on to the European
You want to
stuff,
talk about the GOAT? Big Ange?
Big Ange, yeah.
Told you, I'm telling you, he's the
4-0.
best manager in Europe, and honestly, will be proved right one day.
See, on this programme, by the way, you've just said that a goalkeeper hit a ball 50 yards and he spotted a run, right? And now you're saying Big Ange is the best manager in Europe. You're off your trolley. Were you drinking last night?
No, I love Big Ange.
Yeah.
I love him. I think I'm so glad they won that because a lot of Spurs fans are unbelievably wanting him the sack.
Yeah.
He's too good for Spurs.
Didn't see it
Should be at Barcelona or something.
4-0.
I must admit, I'm not a fan of Man City. I'm not a big fan of Man City at the best of times. But when the first one went in, my wife's sitting in there cheering, and she's going, "What is it?" And I went, "Tottenham have scored. Tottenham have scored." And then I shouted, "You dancer!" to number 2. I mean, it was just incredible. If you're a Tottenham fan going to that game,
there's no Liverpool bias on this show at all.
No, exactly. I was thinking to myself, "Whoa, we're going to win the league here."
Big Ange, masterclass.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, and again, I'm not having it. Listen, this is a club that's spent over £1 billion. And they're talking about what a change without Rodri in the team. Honestly, some of the punditry leaves me utterly gobsmacked. Spent over £1 billion, they're talking about injuries. Away in Gay's piece, Ruffy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Ipswich won, Manchester United won. Mirren, the new Man United manager, says there's a lot more pain before the gain eventually comes.
Even in the difficult moments, I felt that they were doing the things that we said for them to do. I know it's frustrating for the fans, but we are changing so much in this moment with a lot of games. We are going to suffer for a long period, and we will try to win games. This will take time, but I know we have to win games. We could win, we could lose if it was not Onana. So we have to understand that. And think and be pragmatical that these guys had 2 days to train and to change so much.
Wow, I'm gobsmacked by that. I think he's got a big job ahead of him. I tell you, he could become another statistic there unless they get their act together and clear out some of the dross that's taking huge amounts of money at that club. Signings for 50, 60 and 70 million not producing. This week, as ever, We've got lots of great content coming up. There's a great interview tomorrow with Paul McGinn, Motherwell player trying to get back from injury. So we've got that great interview. And Ali, you've been speaking to Shay Logan as well. And that's something we're really looking forward to. Quite open, Shay, and really good discussion with you.
Yeah, very candid on the racism issues that he had as a player, that he's experienced even currently as a player. I think he's very honest. I think we'd have to applaud him for coming out and speaking so candidly.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. A lot of great content coming up in PLZ Soccer. If you like your football, a wee bit of banter, lots of serious issues to discuss, and of course you'll get no shortage of opinion as well. That's what we're here to do. Celtic against Club Brugge. I think Celtic fans are thinking Wednesday night, another one of those nights where, you know, let's not beat about the bush here. Effectively, that would seal for me their chance to go and play a knockout game.
Yep, I think you wouldn't bet against Celtic at home at the minute, the way they're playing. Club Brugge, I believe, won 7-0 at the weekend, but I think they're sitting in second place in Belgium. Quite a bit off of Genk at the top, so I don't think it's a vintage Club Brugge team, and I think if Celtic turn up in the same form as they've done against Leipzig and Bratislava at home, with the crowd behind them, I think they'll win the game.
I'm a wee bit anxious to beat Aston Villa.
Club Brugge? Yeah. What are you anxious about?
At home. Aston Villa, not a bad side.
Yeah. You think there could be problems on Wednesday?
It'll be up to Celtic how they turn up, but...
prediction?
With the phone, I would go...
No, what's your prediction,
yeah.
Ruffy?
Yeah.
4-0 Celtic.
Four nothing Celtic. Really you're unbelievable. I don't know why you're anxious. The funny thing is, Alison, apart from the fact that sometimes they're not playing well when they're addressing the domestic issues, they just seem to have another couple of gears to go up. But I'm looking at them and I'm thinking they're even a different side now from the Dortmund hammering. It looks as if they're suddenly just he's learnt his lesson. He's told them exactly what he wants to do when they're not on the ball. And of course, you need that little bit of luck in Europe. I just can't see anything other than a Celtic win by a couple.
I think they look confident. I think they're playing with an assurance and a confidence about their style of play. And I think they have players at the minute like Kuhn, Maeda, Kyogo. They've got goals, Hatate. You know that there's players that can all contribute with goals. I think it'll be quite a tough game on Wednesday night. I think there is a danger for some Celtic fans going along and thinking it's straightforward and it'll be a simple fact of banking 3 points. I think it'll be tough. I don't think it'll be straightforward, but I think Celtic will be keen to replicate the kind of form, the kind of display they produced against Leipzig. I thought it was arguably one of probably the best European performances that they've produced under Brendan Rodgers. I think they'll need that kind of standard again.
Qualification.
That's it. That's your huge carrot. I think if Celtic were to win on Wednesday night, I think you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was his remit. And by the way, the other thing, which again, I often say, you know, the great thing about Celtic's PR department is they only put negatives in front of them. And right across, so I can't help but have a dig, Ali, I'm sorry. But what you get is you get pundits on radio and television and newspapers who rightly criticise when they should be criticised, and they should have been criticised heavily for the game against Dortmund. But Brendan Rodgers deserves tremendous credit, and the team deserve the credit for the way they've bounced back and the way they're playing now. I said I can't see them getting beaten domestically. I think they'll win everything. But I'm looking at them in Europe and I thought to myself after that Leipzig game, bloody hell, I mean, they played some really good football, even with a high press, and the manager deserves that credit.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best Celtic performance I've seen at home in Europe. You know, in 20 years, maybe Juventus at home was at 4-3, probably going right way back to then, Peter. I think it was a complete performance against a top German team. I think if Celtic turn up in that same form, with that crowd behind them, the electricity, you know, rolling them on, I can only see a comfortable Celtic win.
Nice against Rangers. What does the manager do there? It's away from home. Does that make it easier for them to play the style that he wants them to play?
I think Rangers are a different team in Europe. I think you've seen it against Olympiacos, who won the Conference League last season. Rangers arguably could have won the game. And I think they're just a totally different team. I don't know if it's the pressures off them in Europe. I don't know if Nice will obviously fancy their chances. They'll come and attack Rangers and it leaves gaps. But if you looked at the Rangers performance at the weekend, you would think Nice were a certainty. But then you look at the Rangers performance in the Malmo and Greece, you think it's a totally different Rangers team. I think they would take a point just now. I think they've got a tough game, but you can't write Rangers off in Europe.
Prediction?
I'll go for one each.
Yeah, one each. I'll go for Ruffy.
2-1 Nice.
One each.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what did you go for Celtic Bruges?
2-1 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic.
Okay.
2-0.
2-0. Tam, you and I are in complete agreement. And of course, let's not forget the Jambos as well. It's Cercle Bruges.
Is that who put Kamarlik out? Yeah. Again, Hearts probably need one more win probably to go through. I think they've won 2 out of 3. I think 9 points, 10 points maybe get same through as well. I think they've got arguably a bigger game coming up at the weekend against Aberdeen at home. Sitting bottom of the table, but I think Hearts are capable of maybe going over there and getting a draw as well. So I'll go one each with that as well.
Yeah, you're going to go Ruffy. I'm going to go Cercle Bruges to win 2-1.
So am I, 2-1.
2-0 Bruges.
2-0 Bruges. Okay. Chris Fraser. Chris Fraser says the Scottish mainstream media will never congratulate Celtic. Chris, I ask you, please, Chris, I know you're in Texas.
Where have you been for 20 years?
Just clean your ears out and don't listen to what I call the Scottish mainstream Celtic fan who just thinks that everybody's against them. We do praise teams and we give criticism as well. That's the nature of it. You just have to listen to everything in context without anybody taking a soundbite on it. I think Celtic, as we have said, Ruffy, are just they look unstoppable at the moment. And, the opinions that we've given today are on two managers who are hanging on by their fingernails to jobs. That's the nature of Scottish football. There's so many different layers and stories.
Yeah, if you just look at as we keep talking about, the Scotland squad, the people they've got on the bench, the people who come on, in any given game, there's 5 players come off and 5 come on, and they're not far behind the ability they'd replace.
Yeah.
That's why they're so good.
Okay, thank you very much to everyone. Sorry to so many of you who have said Ruffy spoiled the show today with this kind of a croaky voice and coughing all over Alison. Alison did, you're right, absolutely, look freaked out by Ruffy and the way he treated her today. So, Ali, will you be back on Friday?
Should be back with a cough on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smelled everybody.
Anyway, thank you very much to each and every one of you for joining us on the programme. Thanks to Ruffy, as ever. He'll be here with us to the very end, Tam. I might as well tell you that. You happy with that?
Yeah, we'll like that. I'll wind them up. I love the end bit.
In fact, all I'm going to say to you is...
Are you going to get the casket in?
Taxidermist. He's just going to sit there.
Last day,
he's going to be there.
Guide him out.
He's going to be there with us to the end, Ruffy. It's you and me and anybody else who'll stay with us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Alison and to Tam. And don't forget, this week, as well as following our Scottish clubs in Europe, there's some great content coming out on PLZ Soccer. Hit the subscribe button if you can. Thanks for listening and watching.